I became a fan of crypto, and to me it's an industry. I view it as an industry, and I'm president. And if we didn't have it, China would, or somebody else would, but most likely China.
The U.S., the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that.
China is pushing forward and very strongly as usual, but we're way in the lead.
Welcome to GVS Deep Dive. This is Najma Minhas. All right, putting U.S. tariffs aside for the moment, something rare is happening in Washington this week. So rare, in fact, it's been dubbed Crypto Week. Lawmakers are fast-tracking bills that could define how digital money works, not just for the United States, but for the world. And behind the urgency is one key reality. If the US doesn't set the rules for the next era of money, China will. The House of Representatives is set to pass a series of crypto-related bills this week, including the Genius Bill, that would establish a regulatory framework for stablecoins after President Trump approves it. The Clarity Act, which establishes a market framework for digital assets, and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, which prohibits the Federal Reserve Bank from issuing central bank digital currency. Trump, once a vocal critic of crypto, called it a scam in 2021, has now branded himself as the crypto president. Since launching the dollar Trump coin 3 days before his second inauguration and backing ventures like World Liberty Financial with his sons, he's made digital assets a political weapon, not just a financial asset. It's quite a turnaround for an industry that has gone from being seen as being fringe, risky, anarchical, used for money laundering and drug trafficking, to now being seen as part of the financial infrastructure and part of a national strategy going forward, which will potentially set up a strategic Bitcoin reserve. All of which will lead to a major move legitimizing cryptocurrency. Now, this sudden love for the crypto industry is a big turnaround in the American landscape, and it's not just being driven by the millions that were spent by the industry on educating policymakers on the advantages of crypto during the election term. Fear of China has American policymakers jumping on the crypto bandwagon. Now, I'll also cover some details on the bills themselves towards the end of the vlog for those interested. As of April 2025, the global cryptocurrency market capitalization stood at an impressive $2.8 trillion. It's a clear sign of the sector's explosive growth. Now, to put things in perspective, the market was valued at just $910 million in 2021, and several factors are driving this surge. First, there's the rising adoption of blockchain technology from finance to supply chains. Then there's the booming world of decentralized finance, or DeFi, which is what it's called, which is pulling in both retail and institutional investors. We're also seeing increasing regulatory clarity in major economies, which has reduced risk and boosted confidence. On top of that, features like enhanced transparency, security, and faster transactions continue to draw users to this digital ecosystem. The digital assets are also becoming far more integrated into mainstream payment systems. That further legitimizes crypto's role in the global economy as well as the domestic economy. Interestingly, the United States has lagged behind other regions in crypto ownership and adoption. However, President Trump has brought his own thoughts on the industry, and aggressively he's claiming that if the United States does not embrace the cryptocurrency industry, China will step in to fill the void. He's underlined the strategic importance of cryptocurrency policy and the implications for global power dynamics. The United States' stance on cryptocurrency is pivotal for several reasons, including what it's going to keep as its innovation leadership in the field, ensuring that the country's economic competitiveness exists, reinforcing its national security. And doing all of this, it all comes back to bolstering and reinforcing the role of the dollar in the world economy. Why does this matter? Because today the dollar accounts for around 55% of global foreign exchange reserves and around 80% of foreign exchange trades, despite the fact that the United States makes up just 11% of global trade. That imbalance is what grants the United States its exorbitant privilege, that unique power to enforce sanctions and control money flows globally. But if digital assets are rebuilt, and China gets there first, this privilege may not last. These digital assets are foundational technologies that are going to shape the future financial systems as well as national security for the countries involved. But there are two parts to this. One is setting the global framework for the industry, and two, setting up a central bank digital currency. Now, the United States has belatedly started to work on the first, but on the CBDC, it's not yet on the horizon. Now, CBDC, which is the central bank digital currency, is a digital form of that country's fiat currency. The only difference is it's digital. Instead of printing money, the central bank issues electronic coins or accounts which are still backed by the full faith and credit of the government concerned. Now, US policymakers are in fact going in the opposite direction. Trump himself has cited concerns that it should not be set up as it would threaten the stability of the financial system. Personally, I think these are words that they may come to regret. One of the major bills being looked at this week is the Genius Act. Let's talk about stablecoins, because once you understand how they work, you'll understand why the United States wants to control them. Stablecoins are digital tokens. They're pegged to real-world assets, usually the United States dollar or the gold. There's different varieties of them. Their key advantage is stability. Now, unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, they don't fluctuate widely in prices. This makes them ideal for fast, cheap, borderless payments without needing to convert back to fiat money. So, for example, instead of wiring $1,000 through a bank, paying high fees and waiting a couple of days, I can send $1,000 USDC to a freelance designer in Nigeria within seconds. Now, using that crypto wallet, he or she will get those funds in minutes as well, and they can convert them then locally. Why does it work? Because one USDC is equal to $1, and it's backed by US Treasury assets and is widely trusted. This is why control over stablecoins matters, because whoever dominates this payment layer could shape the future of cross-border finance. USDT and USDC together account for over 80% of global stablecoin volume, but they serve very different roles. Now, as shown in the chart, USDC is a US regulated and backed by treasuries, while USDT, though it's dominant globally, is offshore, opaque, and outside US control. Now, where this becomes geopolitically important is China. In the 2010s, Tether and Bitfinex had banking ties to Hong Kong, and Chinese OTC traders started to use USDT as a workaround to move capital offshore. Even after Beijing banned crypto trading, the USDT remained active in China's grey market, especially in Guangdong and Shenzhen, which are especially their big exporting regions. The process was simple. You convert the yuan into USDT locally, and then you send it offshore and you trade it into Bitcoin or dollars, basically bypassing capital controls. This underground usage was one of the key reasons why China accelerated its e-Yuan digital currency, which was aiming to reclaim monetary control and to curb these stable coins, the USDT's influence. For the United States, this isn't just about regulation, it's about maintaining global financial influence. As with AI or semiconductors, the fight over stablecoins is also about who controls the rails of cross-border money in a multipolar world. A dollar-backed stablecoin ecosystem is increasingly seen as a way to safeguard United States monetary sovereignty. It's a tool to preserve the dollar's role in global finance, maintain sanctions, leverage, and shape future technology standards. And the new Trump administration appears ready to back private sector innovation in stablecoins to ensure that tokenized cash settlements and cross-border payments remain under United States influence. The hope, of course, is that this alignment serves the public interest and not just corporate agendas. Crucially, within the proposed legislation, United States policy explicitly aims to block American firms from engaging with non-compliant foreign crypto entities, with a particular eye on Chinese-linked platforms. This time, the United States doesn't plan to wait. It intends to shut down Chinese challenges early before they can take root, preventing the rise of even a seedling, rather than confronting a full-grown rival later. Many US officials worry that the country is already late to the race to shape the global digital currency architecture, risking that loss of first-mover advantage, and has allowed other powers to set the rules. And this is why, despite politicians saying that the United States digital currency is not important, the Fed itself launched last year a discussion paper that examined the pros and cons of a potential US CBDC. Now, they were asking for public to give feedback on this issue. It's not just China. A growing list of countries from the European Central Bank and the Swiss National Bank to India, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and Russia, they're all accelerating their own digital currency systems. This is part of a broader trend towards regionalized, fragmented financial ecosystems. According to the Bank of International Settlements, there are now 49 CBDC pilot programs worldwide. 3 countries, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and Nigeria, have fully launched digital currencies. And by 2030, at least 24 more central banks are expected to roll out their own. This is according to the data from the Atlantic Council CBDC tracker. India's e-rupee is now the second largest CBDC pilot. Digital rupee in circulation rose to $122 million by March 2025, and it's up 334% from $28 million in 2024. In 2025, the Reserve Bank of India is expanding both retail and wholesale CBDCs with new use cases. They intend to have offline functionality, and they want to broaden the participation. Generally, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the G7's sweeping sanctions, the number of cross-border projects, especially of wholesale CBDC projects, has more than doubled. There are now 13 initiatives, the most advanced being Project mBridge, a collaboration between the central banks of China, Thailand, the UAE, and Hong Kong and Saudi Arabia. BIS used to be involved, but with US pressure, it's no longer involved. mBridge is one of those projects which really worries President Trump, and that's when he threatens people to stop going off the dollar and de-dollarization and 100% tariffs. It's increasingly be seen as the global South's alternative to the SWIFT system. Now, for the real elephant in the room, could China's digital currency one day displace the United States dollar as the preferred medium for global trade, commodity pricing, and foreign currency reserves? No. However, the digital yuan, or e-Yuan, is issued by the People's Bank of China. It functions like digital cash, but with one key difference. It creates a state-visible trail and allows the government to track all the transactions you've done in real time. Now, that has enormous implications for both monetary control and cross-border financial influence. Domestically, the e-Yuan remains the largest CBDC pilot in the world. It's been rolled out in 17 provinces and 26 cities, including Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing, with over 260 million users. Local governments are now paying some of their salaries in this e-digital currency, and some of them are even giving away free digital yuan around holidays, basically to drive adoption of the currency. And it's working. The e-digital transaction volumes have jumped from 100 billion yuan in early 2022 to 7 trillion yuan by mid-2024, which is around $1 trillion, $986 billion or so. Now, this is still small compared to China's $3.6 trillion digital payments market, but that growth trajectory is very, very steep. But this isn't just about domestic efficiency. China's playing the long game. It's using that e-digital currency to challenge the dollar-based global finance. Its rollout is being integrated into cross-border pilots and alternative payment systems like the Chinese CIPS system, which is designed to bypass SWIFT over time and reduce the country's exposure to US sanctions if they ever take place. At the same time, Chinese firms like JD.com and Ant Group are planning Yuan-backed stablecoins, which is going to be a direct answer to the United States-linked tokens like the USDC and the USDT. Chinese policymakers see clearly whoever controls the dominant digital currency will set the standards, control the rails, and enforce the rules of global commerce. Meanwhile, the US is moving very cautiously. The Federal Reserve has authorized few pilot programs for a digital dollar in states like Maryland, New York, and Texas, and they're targeting public benefits and some payroll systems. But the political backlash is strong. Trump's 2025 executive order halted work on a retail CBDC, and it makes the United States the only major economy to abandon a central bank digital currency. Instead, Washington's hoping that the regulated dollar-backed stablecoins will carry the burden of preserving the dollar's dominance. Now, there is an area where the United States is far ahead of China. Following China's 2021 mining exit, the United States now hosts around 35% of global hash rate. Bolstering crypto infrastructure domestically in the country is basically located in the cheap energy states such as Texas and Kentucky. Interestingly, China used to have around 75% share in 2019. However, crypto mining is highly energy intensive, and China's mining hubs like Inner Mongolia and Xinjiang relied heavily on coal. In 2021, amid rising energy shortages in the country and its carbon neutrality pledges, Beijing cracked down to cut emissions and redirect power to what it gave as priority sectors. Mining gave citizens access to new coins, which were then converted into dollar-linked stablecoins and moved out of the country. China also wanted to eliminate that. It didn't want any decentralized alternatives, as it was rolling out the e-Yuan at the time. Because remember, the e-Yuan ensures monetary surveillance and central control, unlike the stable coins which are private sector led. In terms of the industry, it basically strengthens United States' influence over cross-border digital rails. It drives technology innovation in chips and energy in the country, and it reinforces an American rule-based ecosystem. In contrast, China's ban has now left it sidelined from shaping the very networks that may define the future of global finance. This may be one decision that China comes to regret. Now, the details on the bills I promised in the beginning of the vlog. The industry is getting what it's wanted for a long time, as the House of Representatives set up a series of crypto bills to provide this digital asset industry with a regulatory framework. And investors are jumping into cryptos as this is happening. Bitcoin is hitting all-time highs every day as I record this, and right now going into around $123,000 at one point on Monday. A regulatory framework is essential for the growth of the sector, as it will unlock institutional capital. They will start investing into cryptocurrencies, which enables their growth. And by institutional capital, what we're talking about is big banks, hedge funds, pension funds, and those huge asset managers. These investors all need a secure legal framework before they can invest in new alternative asset classes. They control trillions of dollars, and the crypto industry wants to obviously tap into those. Briefly, on the bills during Crypto Week in the House. Legislators weighed basically three key bills which were designed to strengthen the US digital financial ecosystem. The first, the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for US Stablecoins, known as the Genius Act. This provides a framework that would require tokens to be backed by liquid assets such as United States dollars and short-term treasury bills in the reserve manager who's issuing these coins. This provides a framework that would require tokens to be backed by liquid assets such as the United States dollars and short-term treasury bills. And this will help to further legitimize cryptocurrencies. The bill's requirements include full reserve banking for the issuers, monthly audits, and anti-money laundering compliance, among other regulations. And this is where your USDC and your USDT stablecoins would trade under. Then we have the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, which aims to serve as a crypto market structure bill. The legislation divides the oversight authority between the Commodities Future Trading Commission, the CFTC, and the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, with the CFTC taking on a primary role. It also determines which cryptocurrencies will be defined as commodities, securities, or digital investment contract assets. The Act defines digital commodities as a digital asset whose value is intrinsically linked to the use of a blockchain. So all those big names you may have heard of would come under this definition. For example, Bitcoin, Ether, ADA, Cardano, and so on. Now this excludes stablecoins. The bill would require digital commodity exchanges and digital commodity brokers, such as crypto trading platforms, for example, Coinbase, to register with CFTC, and that gives the agency exclusive regulatory jurisdiction over the digital commodity transactions. All of this is very good for you, the consumer, for me, the consumer. The Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, which is the third big act that they're looking at, prohibits the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, the CBDC, or any similar digital asset. The bill defines a CBDC as any form of a digital money or monetary value that is a liability of the central bank. Under that bill, the Federal Reserve and the Board of Governors cannot develop, create, or use any CBDCs or any kind of similar tool to implement monetary policy. The Act will also prohibit the Fed from offering products and services and maintaining accounts for individuals, whether it's directly or indirectly. Together, these bills show that the United States wants to cement its dollar-backed stablecoins as the future of digital payments without embracing a government-issued CBDC. And the real aim? Preserve the dollar's dominance, keeping up with China's digital yuan, and regain the initiative in setting global standards for crypto finance. Interestingly, both countries have started work on that area which is easiest for them, and it fits in with their own philosophical worldview as well. Only hindsight's going to tell us which one took the right route. Do share with me your comments and have a great day.